Hi everyone. So I'm just going to show you quickly how I build an apex using clear over tips. So I'll be using Vivien, which is Revel's clear. Now I've taken the color off of my thumbnail and taken just about all the clear off as well. So you can see it's bendy. There's really not anything on that anymore. So I'm going to take you through the process as if I was just dipping brand new, just put my tips on. So the first thing that I do is I will do a thin line just across where the tip meets the nail plate. Now I'm not touching my sidewalls with it. I'm just gonna do a quick dip. Tap it off, give it a second. And it's really important that you let it dry. So usually when I'm doing my whole hand, I'll do the first step on all 5 fingers, and then I'll come back and, brush off the excess. So that's number 1. So number 2, I take my base and I go from about here, just a straight line. And then I'll dip that. Again, I give it just a few seconds here, you guys, because I just don't want it to smoosh. There we go. So the next one that I do is again going to be in the middle, not touching the cuticle. If you can see, I'm going about this far away. But this one's going to be a little wider than the last one. And then I will dip. Tap it, give it a couple of seconds. So you'll see my hot mess right there. But you'll also notice now, maybe if you can see it, that the apex is starting to build. So right in this area here, I have kind of a, oh, there you go, you can see it better there. So it's starting to build up. So what I'm gonna do is, this will be the one that's gonna be clearer. That's gonna cap all these layers together. So you wanna kind of make sure that you get full good coverage with this one and all the little nooks and crannies that you've just created. Don't touch the sidewall. Get close, or the cuticle area or the sidewalls. And what I'm doing is, you see I work it a lot because once I get product in those areas, I like to try to pull it away. Tap her off. So there we go. Oh. Okay, so now I have full coverage. I don't know if you can see how I now have an apex here, but it doesn't span the whole nail. It actually kind of comes up in a curve, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to activate the crap out of this because I am a firm believer that more activator is always good. Like, I completely saturate mine. And that's because I want to make sure that, because I have, the first, second, third, fourth, I think, however many I did, layers, I want to make sure that they're completely penetrated with the activator so everything holds really nice and tight. So little trick, I've mentioned this in an earlier video, but a little trick about finding out whether or not your activator has worked and your nail is cured enough is the sound of it when you hit it with something. So this is not cured. So we'll give it a second or two. And in the same spot. You can hear that the tone is changing. It's getting a higher pitch. Still not ready. And you'll kind of feel it on your nail plate as well. Like when I hit it and it's a dull thud, it almost feels like rubbery on my nail. When it's cured completely and I hit it and it's kind of a sharper sound, then I actually feel like it's, you know, because it's harder, obviously, but it feels different on my nail. So you'll kind of get used to that as well. There we go. Huge difference once it's completely dry. So I like to tap everywhere because sometimes if there's a small area that hasn't completely cured, like maybe this little area here might not completely cured. If I try to file that, what's gonna happen is it's actually gonna like get that bunchy gross. To fix that, I just put more activator on it, let it dry again, and then I go over it again, just file it down, and it's usually fine. So now I'm gonna file this, and I hand file when I do my clear. And the reason is because I wanna make sure that when I'm filing it, I have complete control because I'm going to bring it quite thin. So I start by doing my sides and I just feather them down, out on an angle. And I do the same thing on this side. Light strokes. And what I'm doing is I'm just blending that down. Another trick with hand filing is you can see where you need to file. So right here, where the file is not touching is going to be the darker color. So that way you can kind of gauge whether or not you've completely gotten an area. So I just keep going over until it's completely matted out because I've touched it. So you can see here that it's still not completely flush. I don't like to stay in one area all the time, so I do move around. Now I'm just doing quick, and I do have my file on a bit of an angle when I'm doing this. So it's not flush with the nail this way because I don't want to flatten here. I want this to kind of curve up and bring the strength to the strength from the structure that I'm trying to build. So I have my file at an angle here. I'll show you from another angle. This is how I do around the cuticle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down the nail and I'm just making sure that everything is smooth, that there's no big divots or bumps. And again, what I'm doing is I'm watching for the areas of the nail that haven't been hit by the file because that's going to tell me where the low spots are, and then I can bring the rest of it down to those areas. And my tip, I find for whatever reason, I got like a ton on there, so I'm gonna become pretty aggressive with this. And again, when I'm doing this, I come in at an angle. I don't go straight up and down. It's at an angle because right now I'm just building the curve. So I'm shaping that curve. And this one will be the same way. It'll be coming up and around. Now with this as well, you want it to come up and down this way as well as this way. It's almost like you're creating a tunnel. So that's how we're getting our nail to be really strong because architecture is a lot of the same elements that, you know, building, because you're technically building something. And in order for it to be strong, arches are the way to go. Yeah, sorry, I babble. Okay, so I'm pretty good with this. So as you can see, it's there, it's strong, my apex is nice, it's not flat anymore. And it's really not that thick where when I put my dip on, when I do my color, it's not gonna be like up here because I really don't have a lot of product on there now. Although I did do, I think it was 4 layers, I file most of those off anyway because of just to build the structure. So that's how I do my apex. I'm just gonna throw a quick little bit of activator over it again. There we go, all set.